Good morning, everybody, and welcome here to the Michigan International Speedway as we're getting set for go home qualifying and pole day qualifying for this afternoon's race here at the Irish Hills of Michigan, race number 24 of the fourth season of the NR2003 Red Bull GT Series. Had another off week with these drivers that we've had. Because we just got done with our Kansas race, or actually, this is the first race in. Hold on a second. Let me double check something. This is actually the first race in November, actually. We just got done with our elimination race for the Winston Cup Series as Monica Towns is the first car out onto the track. Into number 20. Just got done with our second elimination race. This is another Red Bull GT Series doubleheader with the Winston Cup Series drivers. The Cup drivers this weekend are at Darlington Raceway. We were just at Darlington not that long ago. So if any of these Winston Cup regulars that are racing this afternoon, they will also be in tomorrow afternoon's first race of the Elite Eight. And we'll be back on the 10th of November, which will be 9 days from now, for their next race of the season. That will be Kentucky. We only have 6 more races left to go. Kentucky, Richmond, South Boston, Atlanta, Kansas, and Homestead, Miami to finish up the season. $36,586 for Monica Towns. Rest of the time starting to file in. Top 7 will transfer into this afternoon's race. Winston Cup had all their stuff yesterday on the October holiday at Darlington. Actually, they had the 2 practice sessions on Thursday. Yesterday, they just had pole qualifying for their race on Sunday. And now today, it's just Red Bull GT Series because Winston Cup Series doesn't have. They actually had happy hour yesterday as well, in addition to finishing up qualifying. So that way, the Winston Cup drivers that are in this field for this afternoon's race will have plenty of time to travel over to Darlington to get ready for tomorrow afternoon's first race of the Elite Eight. R.B. Gardner, currently 12th on the board, but he's on his third lap. Top 7 will make it into the field. Everybody else will go home unless you're a Winston Cup Series driver that will take part in tomorrow afternoon's race. Davis Santi in the 66. Timo Mauser currently in the final transfer spot. There's Danny Johnson running in the 12th position in this go home qualifying session. Matthew Hubert, 36-35 for the 15 machine. Sam Tenley, who is still not back in the top 35. And by the way, Chaz Farmer is back from a 1-race suspension for his antics. Sam Tenley. He is only 5 points back of the soon to be the original 35th in the standings cut line. Fastest driver is Luna Farmer, trying to make her 3rd start in a row, 4th on the season. Been very impressive with her on her limited starts. She's got Brooke Packett right here. We've raced here at Michigan before, the inaugural race season 2. The defending winner of that race, Cody Smart. We'll see him for pole day qualifying. After this session, that will be in round number 2. Monica Town's 6th quickest. On the bubble is Timo Mauser. As of now, Nathan Orman, Matthew Huber, R.B. Gardner, David Santi, Courtney Lynn, Sam Tenley, and Danny Johnson are the 7 that, as of now, would fail to qualify and would go home unless you're Courtney Lynn, you're heading back to Darlington to get ready for tomorrow afternoon's race. So all those 7 drivers would go home with the exception of Courtney Lynn, because remember, Courtney Lynn, this gal right here, Monica Towns, they're heading back to Darlington to get ready for tomorrow afternoon's race. Luna Farmer, not only we will see her this weekend, we will also see her back next weekend, as we will have all 3 series back in action. As I said, we just whittled our playoff grid from 12 to 8. After the elimination race at Kansas, which, by the way, if you're wondering, last week we saw the departures of, we'll get to a couple of drivers who were recently eliminated. We had Annie Crenshaw, Ashley Reynolds, Hannah Smith, and Elena Rohr. They were the 4 drivers eliminated after last week's race weekend at Kansas. So a tough break for those 4 drivers. They are now out of the hunt in the Winston Cup Series, but look to finish their season with a trip to victory lane as many times. So we've now cut our playoff grid now down to 8. And like I said, it's only Winston Cup this weekend, so Red Bull GT Series is going to be the race this afternoon on a Saturday, the first Saturday in November. It's also championship weekend, by the way, because we have the Xfinity race at Phoenix to crown a champion. We already know who has made the final 4 to compete for the championship. If you also didn't see the Craftsman Truck Series race last night, congratulations to the champion. I'm not going to spoil who won the championship. I'll let you folks figure that out for yourself. Unless you want to be Zachary Taylor, Jared Underhill, want to be Idiot Sandwich, and Cody Smart Server, just saying. There's Matthew Hubert. Sam Tenley looks like he's going to fail to qualify for this race. So he's not going to get himself above the 35th in the standings cut line with a D&Q. Courtney Lynn doesn't have anybody to draft with. Nathan Orman looks like he's going to fail to qualify for this race. And it looks like Luna Farmer, for the 3rd weekend in a row, has made the show this week. Impressive job by that 56 on a part-time schedule, by the way. Lizette Armstrong's going to make the show. Same with Brooke Packett, but we got a minute to go, so never say never in this industry. Somebody can still pull a rabbit out of their hat. Monica Towns is coming into the pits. I think that might be her session done. And with her 6th quickest, I'd be a little concerned about that. She's not going to have enough time to get back out on the track and get another lap in. R.B. Gardner did not improve. See if Lizette Armstrong improved her time. She did not. This is also going to be another race this afternoon. We're going to have fuel mileage come into play. Courtney Lynn now the slowest. But we will see Courtney Lynn tomorrow afternoon at Darlington at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we have the Winston Cup Series first race of the Elite Eight. Of course, Courtney Lynn did not make the playoffs, sadly, but it doesn't give her the excuse to not go out there and try to get a win to finish what has been a struggling season for her in the number 5 machine. Of course, she drives the Kellogg's CarQuest Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Speaking of Zachary Taylor, I got a text message from the Winston Cup Series officials, and they said that if with Zachary Taylor not returning to the Winston Cup Series next season, as that is time up, hot laps still count, that Zachary Taylor will not be allowed to take part in the All Star race along with Jared Johnson because there are reasons why, and I'm probably not going to go over the details. I don't think anybody's going to improve. I think Luna Farmer's in the pits. Of course, she's not had a good season in Busch. So I think the Red Bull GT Series has kind of helped her a lot in this season. She will make the show along with Lizette Armstrong. That's another gal who's really been struggling trying to make races this season. Lizette, very happy she made the show. Brooke Packett, Ingrid Pollard, Tico Jumiaka, Danny Johnson, and Timo Mauser took the final transfer spot. Unfortunately, the drivers who will fail to qualify for this week at Michigan are Monica Towns, Nathan Orman, David Santi, Matthew Huber, R.B. Gardner, Sam Tenley, and Courtney Lynn. 5 of them will be heading home. The other 2, Monica Towns, Courtney Lynn, they're heading back to Darlington to get ready for tomorrow afternoon's Winston Cup race. You'll see right here on the Blue Hedgehog TV. But we're going to take a commercial break, and on the other side of the break, we're going to get those 7 GOGH homers to join the 35 other drivers as we get ready for qualifying to set our grid for this afternoon's race. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back after these messages and a word from the World Racing Association. And welcome back to the Michigan International Speedway. Same 10 minutes on the clock for these drivers to prepare themselves for this afternoon's race, which, by the way, fuel mileage is on ×2. So we are going to have pit stops during the course of this afternoon's race here this morning. Of course, a beautiful November morning here in the Irish Hills of Michigan as we're waiting for the first car to come out onto the track here today. The points really took a big shakeup last time out after the race at Chicagoland. I'm going to go back on to the correct standings. And there's our defending winner of the race. That would be Cody Smart, currently in the 72. The ride he drove to victory lane is in the field with Brooke Packett in the number 16. After the fallout from last week's race, which, by the way, I apologize if it was on replay camera. You can blame my recording system for that. Alexander Underwood lost a lot of points, down to a 7-point lead over Ponzo Albanese, who's still the rookie points leader. He has a 24-point lead over Sarah Redmond, who's 5th. Jesse Art, 18 back in 3rd. Cody Goforth, 25 points back in 4th. Sarah Redmond, 31 back in 5th. The aforementioned Sarah Redmond. Kyler Anderson, Skylar Taylor, Josh Harmon, Bradley Ream, Kyle Langland. That is your top 10. As Cody Smart. There's Eric Alpha coming out on the track. Eric's up to 22nd in points. There he is, having a almost got himself in the top 20 in points. 1 point ago, he was outside the top 35. He's already up to 22nd in points. So Eric Alpha's really done a good job so far in the Red Bull GT Series. As Cody Goforth's already set a time. Times are already on the board. Fastest right now, the gal that just recently got eliminated from the playoffs, that is Annie Crenshaw. She was one of the 4 drivers eliminated from last week's race at Kansas in the Winston Cup Series. Yes, we had no Red Bull GT Series race because they ran. They took a full week off before they got back in action with the Winston Cup Series drivers. So it's up right for Annie Crenshaw. Henrietta Fitzwater is the fastest in this session. drafting with Lucci and Bianchi. Cody Smart back to the top of the timesheet. There's Josh Harmon. Trinity Lee having a quiet run. There's Jesse Art, Kasumi Takashi, Cody Goforth. Zachary Fitzwater, who's having a good season. Danny Johnson raced his way in via the GOGH session. Reagan Whitlock got involved in that big wreck last week at Chicagoland, or last time out at Chicagoland. Dropped the spot down to 33rd in the points. He is a total now of 30 points ahead of Andrew Williams, who, by the way, is in that critical 35th in the standings. There's Logan Williams, Campbell Marsh. There's Andrew Williams. Chaz Farmer back in the 34 this week after serving his suspension for what he did at 8 Bowl. Matty Crenshaw, who's having a miserable season. Skylar Taylor goes to the top of the timesheets. There's Sarah Redmond. Emma Kaiser, Ingrid Pollard. Kyle Langland. Little Farmer, who made the show this week. There's Skylar, 35.951. Ponzo Albanese, the rookie points leader. Ponzo Albanese just recently made it into the next round of the playoffs. Tico Jumiaka, there's Ricky Cervantes, Sebastian Palmer, Lizette Armstrong, Vanko Seaman, who also barely squeaked into the next round of the playoffs. There's Shyla Askarov, Kyler Anderson, Brooke Packett, Elena Aurora, who just recently got eliminated from the playoffs in the Winston Cup Series. Finished 32 points below the playoff cut line. Tough break for her. Dana Monroe, 39th quickest. So that's two of the drivers in the Red Bull GT Series who were recently eliminated from the playoffs. Josh Harmon coming to pit road. Sebastian Palmer is the quickest in this session. There he is, as he almost roughs up poor Lizette Armstrong for some apparent reason. She's coming to pit road. That could have been disastrous. Thankfully, it wasn't. So the drivers who made the Elite Eight for the Winston Cup Series entering tomorrow's race, it was Cody Smart, Ben Tennyson, Jacob Tutu, Benny Barrett, Josephine Bouvier, Todd Montgomery, Vanko Seaman, and Ponzo Albanese. So those two are the only two Red Bull GT Series drivers, Seaman and Albanese, who still have a chance to take home the championship in the Winston Cup Series. Forgot to mention Jesse Art was recently eliminated from the playoffs in the Craftsman Truck Series. Forgot if I have not mentioned that already. Which, in the words of Sean, he went, ha ha, knowing that's going to be the key. Sorry, Sean, if I ripped your line. I know I will make the list. Either way. Addison Peterson running in the 24th position this qualifying session. Addison Peterson, 32nd in points. She's another one of those drivers that needs to get a good run to get away from the current 35th in the standings cut line, which is, by the way, occupied by the guy that she's passing right now, Andrew Williams. The good news for Andrew Williams, the guy that was trying to run him down for that 35th in the standings cut line failed to qualify, Sam Tenley. Already, the 7 drivers already have gone home. Actually, let me rephrase that. 5 drivers are heading home right now. The five out of the seven drivers are heading home. The only two who's not heading home is Monica Towns and Courtney Lynn, because both of them are already on a helicopter back to Darlington to get prepared for tomorrow afternoon's race for the first race of the Elite Eight. And of course, neither of them are in the playoffs, by the way. As here is your race weekend calendar. Next week, no Red Bull GT Series on the 3rd, because, well, this is the race that would be on the 3rd. As Sebastian Palmer is now the quickest in the session. That whole race weekend, we have the middle race of the round of 8 for Trucks, Busch, and Winston Cup from Talladega Superspeedway. Red Bull GT Series will go back to their regular Mondays now that we are done with the double header. This is, by the way, the final double header. We're going to have the Red Bull GT Series and the Cup Series. As Palmer's back out on the track, I don't think he's going to have enough time to get up to speed, but we'll see. Because it will be Talladega. And then when we head to Kentucky, the next race for the Red Bull GT Series, it will be Elimination Day. There's Senor Sean, who also didn't make the playoffs in Winston Cup, by the way, and also has yet to find victory lane that series. So when Red Bull GT Series heads to Kentucky, we will have our final elimination race to find out who will be the 4 drivers that will move on to Toronto to compete for the championship, and who would be the 4 drivers that will be heartbroken and crying in front of Ormy, as they will be the final 4 drivers eliminated from the playoffs. It is elimination weekend next week for Trucks, Busch, or actually after Talladega, it will be elimination weekend. Because the NASCAR season will be already done after tomorrow's race. Zeros are now on the clock. How about Shyla Ascroft on the outside of the front row? Wonderful run for Shyla. I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there so I don't have to hear the drivers to your car situation. But Sebastian Palmer, let me see if he's won a pole this season or not. Let me find Sebastian Palmer in the standings. No, this is his first pole on the season. What a better time to get your first pole of the year. He will be alongside of Shyla Ascroft, who's been free-falling through the points after her major accident at April a couple of weeks ago. So she'll be on the front row. A couple of DVR drivers up there in row 2. Vanko Seaman, Lizette Armstrong, Sarah Redmond, Kyler Anderson, row 3. Cody Smart, Bradley Ream, row 4. Jesse Art, Tico Jumiaka will complete your top 10. Looking through the rest of the qualifying results, of course, nobody went to backup cars, nobody going to the rear of the field, so the grid is officially set. But a couple of people that I'd be concerned about starting at the back, Danny Johnson, Eric Alpha starting at the back. But the good news for those drivers, you can pass here at Michigan International Raceway. And also with fuel on ×2, pit stops could also play a factor in the course of the race. Alexander Underwood, that's 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row he's had poor qualifying. But unlike the last 2 weeks, he will have to start from 33rd on the grid. So thankfully, nobody had to go to a backup car. Nobody had to change engines. Nobody starting at the rear of the field. This is the official grid for tomorrow, or for this afternoon's race. But that is it from Michigan today, or for right now. These drivers are going to go ahead, use the restroom, have a nice little picnic. Hopefully they're nice to each other during that picnic. And we'll be back at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for the 24th race on the season. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed this qualifying session. Subscribe to become part of the World Racing Association crew today. We show your qualifying results for this afternoon's starting lineup. You will see this afternoon. And until 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I've been Edith Vo signing off. You've been watching another broadcast of the World Racing Association, the greatest racing since 2013.